Hello, everybody. It's time for another Gateway to Geats episode 44. We're talking about. There was a lot of great things this episode, and a lot of it just kind of like centered around the idea of like taking ownership for the choices you're making and your desires. Like it's not just like, oh, I have a desire. It's like, no, this is my desire, that kind of thing. Because on one side we have Kawa. He's taken aback by everything he's done, and he's kind of second guessing a lot of it. He's rethinking a lot of the things he has done and a lot of things they're asking him to do, and he's starting to have these moments of unsureness, having these moments of what am I doing? Am I really doing the right thing? To the point where he's surprised. Like, what do you mean you kidnapped Neon? What? But he's kind of in a what's the word? There's a word for it. There's a specific term for this. Sunk cost fallacy. He's in the sunk cost, and he feels like he has no other choice but to keep moving forward in this headspace, in this mindset. Michinaga, however, comes in and says like, hey, you need to have your head caved in. What the fuck you doing, buddy? They have a fight. Big thing. And Michinaga just points out, it's like, hey, yo, you mucked things up. You made it harder because you just put flies in all of the ointment. They fight. Kawa kicks his butt, though. Strong, he's powerful. But Michinaga basically asks, is like, does other people really need to suffer for your family to be happy? Kawa is taken aback for a moment, and Michinaga now fully says, I believe in Geats' world, which is just like a big character moment for him. It's just like, I believe in someone else's strengths. I will rely on someone else's strengths. I will rely on someone else, which is something he hasn't really done. And he's basically asking Kawa to, hey, believe in Ace. You've done it before, you can do it again. All that kind of stuff. And that Ace could help. And like all this swirling around of like, oh, the betrayal of trust earlier on in the seasons, and the lies and tricksters of like, in like, I wouldn't say this directly impacts this moment, but it's just kind of like paralleling and rhyming, you know. People give shit for George Lucas that says it's like poetry, it rhymes, but that's good storytelling sometimes. Sometimes things reflect other things. I am now Jerry Seinfeld. Hello! Kawa basically goes to double check, though, that, hey, you aren't pulling my leg. If I beat Geats, it'll really finish the goddess and you'll give me my family back. And like the slinky fucking devil he is, he goes like, yeah, we'll beat Geats and sure, we'll do whatever you want. So Mori, however, sees the crack in Kawa's facade crumbling down slowly, and basically fucking shoots her shot, does the best she can, and says like, hey, is this really what you want? Kawa does the whole self-destructive thing of like, oh yeah, of course that's what we want. He's trying to convince himself more than anything, and Samori just gets right to the point of, if this is what you really want, and this would make you happy, why do you look fucking miserable? Basically, it seems more like Kawa is dreading everything he has to do to get his family, and ultimately, even having his family back probably wouldn't give him the happiness he longs for, and it's more he's operating off of guilt. Which, you know, hey, sometimes them's the breaks. Because Kawa wants his family back, right? But he isn't truly taking ownership for the harm he's causing, right? He deflects all these different things of just like, I just needed the goddess so I can get my family back. I'm just doing this so I can get this. He's not taking ownership of his actions. He isn't acknowledging the fundamental part he is playing in hurting his friends. And take, for example, this episode, Neon gets kidnapped, and he doesn't act like it's anything related to him. It's like, what? Like, he isn't part of it whatsoever in his mind. It's just them doing this. It's like, why are you doing that? That's not part of the plan. And they're like, oh, come on. Yeah. It's just like, you're not my boss. To K-Law's mind, he's off on his own thing, trying to do something. However, we recognize that he is causing actions that cause harm, and he's not taking that fundamental ownership of it. Meanwhile, Kyosei, remember him? He was fucking fighting last episode. Is able to beat the kidnapper, knocks him into a bunch of barrels. Though he's not without injury, he's fucked up real hard. Roba then leaves them for later. Kyosei is then taken to the hospital, and for the first time in a long time, the whole fucked up family is just all together. And they after everything that's just happened with them, and they all kind of talk about what's their whole issue of basically like, hey, so we've been bad parents. We didn't give you the love, care, and attention that you deserve, and it doesn't make up for it, but we want you to have it now. And the dad is basically like, yeah, all these different kinds of things, all these different bits and bobs, and the dad hands the ID core to Neon and says basically, my deepest wish for you now is to truly find your own happiness. And Baroba starts causing chaos outside, blah, blah, blah. And Neon comes out and goes like, you ain't doing this. Get the fuck out. Because she says she's finally found happiness. She recognizes what was missing and the path that she can go down and all these different little bits and things. And she vows to protect it. She needs to protect it, and she wishes for rider powers, and then a couple of Ninetales pop out, and Ace helps her out. Look at Ace. Look at him do. Look at him do. She then beats the absolute fucking tar out of Baroba. Baroba runs away, and Michinaga just comes into the scene, points, laughs, and goes like, hey, you know that despair you were looking for? Look in the fucking mirror. Great Schadenfreude. Just absolute beautiful end to the episode. And see, Neon's taking ownership of her choices that had led her to here. She's taking ownership of her desires, ownership of all this kind of stuff. Just as her parents are also attempting to try, we'll talk about that, to take ownership of their actions. It's not perfect, because the mom is a little presumptuous, right? But, like, from what we've seen in the past couple of episodes, it's very clear the dad was a very damaged man, was very not in his right mind for a lot of years, and he never properly took the time to grieve. And then by the time he recognizes all that, years have gone by. And literally he says that, it's like, I can't make up for the years that you've lived like that, but we can try and start now. And the mom is a little bit more of like, hey, we got years ahead of us. And it's just like, come on, ma'am, you haven't fought a woman from the future trying to kill your daughter. You don't get to make that decision. Neon gets to make the decision. And what I ultimately hope happens, this is just more of like speculation, fan fiction. What I hope to see happens is Neon does move out. She gets her own place, and her family starts to take the steps to become what they could be. But the dad hands over the core, and he repeats what he said earlier in the show. How he just wants her happiness. He wants her to achieve her desire and all that kind of stuff. Before, though, it was caused out of guilt for not truly loving her. For seeing her only as a tool. It's just like, she's a tool and I don't care about her, but at least this is the least I can do. Give her a chance to be happy. And now it's because he actually loves her and wants her to have a full, fulfilled life. And sometimes that's all you You just gotta take actions. You just gotta take ownership of your actions. Just like I'm taking ownership of the fact that you should follow me on social media sites. Some of them are burning, some of them are not. But you can also like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Tell me what you thought. It's late. I have a headache. And boy, it's probably going to come out into the video. Wahoo! You can follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at Boingo_Rider. You can also follow me on Mastodon at Boingo_Rider at vt.social. If I remembered it correctly. Link is in the description. Either way, you can also follow me on Tumblr. Hey, guess what? That link in the description. It's mind-blowing. It is really, truly, and honestly. Also, if you like these videos on Geats and you want to see my thoughts on Ultraman Blazar, you can go give me $1 or more on Patreon and you will get weekly Blazar videos. I've been enjoying making them. The people who have been watching them have been enjoying them. So yeah, $1 a month. You get more content. You know, it's also more content. Me reading your comments. Woo! First up from Slime Beast. One thing I literally said during watching the episode is, "I'm glad you seem to respect her now, but you're still all awful." Also, Yago's debut was incredibly fucking good, and I just assumed he was gonna be a movie villain-esque guy before I watched, and then he wasn't. And wow, KOL really speed ran the family death plotline. RIP. The world right now just wants KOL and his family dead. They're just dead. They're not allowed to be alive. They're dead. And yeah, no. We all know there needs to be more work done to heal a family situation of like that with a lot of abuse and neglect, but it works for what they're going for. And I think what they're trying to do in the moment and to do better, all that kind of stuff. Like, it very much feels like the first page of them trying to recover. So I wouldn't say give it a pass, but I understand what they're doing. I understand. They only have a certain amount of time. Next up from Fish Pop, Kawa got his family back only for them to be immediately die. Torbon, the gang leader, is a boar. Brawly, the murderer, is a bat. And Gyago, Neon's dad, is a bobcat lynx. I'm glad Gyago happened, but he just exists to job out so Nago can get a power-up. Let's hope Buffa gets a proper power-up. Also, I forgot to post a comment on the last video. Frowny face, probably because I watched it on my TV. Hey! Oh, this is no problem. You're not making a comment. That's fine. It happens. People live their lives. You live your life. And all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's cool. The Neon's dad gets to be on the short list of people who are both a Sentai Ranger and a Kamen Rider. So that's fucking neat. Yeah, it's a lot of neat stuff. Bat, boars, lynxes. Yeah, like I said a minute ago, it's late. I'm a little out of it. So, Toa Nui. If Akari's killer was a writer, I wonder if my theory from months ago about the DGP playing a role in her death might actually be true. On that note, I am a little disappointed there's still no confirmation on why she was killed that day. On a different note, I certainly wasn't expecting the dad to transform, but it was cool to see. And now that means the actor has been both Sixth Ranger and a writer. So when I expected Sarah to remain dead, I definitely didn't see it happening from her dying a second time, which now means KY has to deal with the death of his family twice in probably less than 48 hours, which can't be good for his already pretty bad mental state. And finally, on the topic of the wish, I don't know how it never occurred to me that some of the people who died from the DGP might have been total dirtbags that had it coming, and bringing them back would actually be a problem, especially considering that we have seen more than enough examples from the very start. Yeah, this whole arc is just putting KO through the fucking ringer. Hey, your family's dead again, and this time we're not gonna even like try and hide the fact that we have disdain for you and you're just a pawn for us. So yeah, just do our work for us, bitch boy. In like just so many Japan's coming in next episode. It's just like, we're not giving a shit. This is a bed you lied in. Like, we understand when K1 meant, oh, let's bring everybody back from the dead. He meant the people who, like, here's the thing. Realistically, everybody deserves a second chance at life. It also is fucked because it's also working on... Okay, here's the thing. If KOL won a regular DGP and all those people got brought back to life, I think it would have been a lot better. But because he brought everybody back to life right after fucking Ace fixed the memory thing, they all remember shit. And now it's like fucked, you know? Yeah. Or it may be just Samuri fucking with the wish, and just kind of like trying to change up the field, do anything. Because we do see the original goddess has some input on the wishes and how they're interpreted. And Samuri herself is showing that she has a lot more agency than we thought she did. She's waking up and she's like, hey, what the fuck? No. And she's just like, you know, she's kidnapped, but she's, I imagine every once in a while she tries to bite him. I don't know. That's dumb headcanon stuff. Okay. Got a couple more comments left. And then I can take a moment, because brain, not, ooh. Next up from Blaze Chaos. Actually, there was no monkey paw moment. I discussed this with a friend, and he said the following. Monkey paws would be something like wishing for $1 million, and then being given it in 1850 currency, so you can't actually do anything with that money. No reasonable person would interpret that wish in such a way. If you want to try and beat the monkey's paw with my example wish of $1 million, you need to go about it in a manner somewhat like this. I want $1 million, but it has to meet the requirements. Cannot be physical currency. Must be direct deposited into one or more bank accounts of my choosing. The deposits must be legally verifiable, traceable. The deposits must be traced back to a legitimate means. The amount deposited must account for all possible taxation, such as amount remaining after due taxes are paid equals to exactly $1 million. It cannot be deposited in one lump sum to avoid suspicion or fraud or other criminal activity, so on and so forth. P.S. I thought I would love you to read this, a post about KOL's character arc, and would love to hear your thoughts on this. You might want to read it some other time and say your thoughts on the vid, since this post is quite long. Yeah, this post is quite long, but I don't think that's a true representation of a monkey paw. That sounds more like a genie's gambit, because in the original text of the short story, the monkey paw, they wish for $1 million. The way that the $1 million gets done is their son dies in a freak accident, and they get money through a settlement. So it's less of, oh, random, here, you think you can't actually use, and it's just more of like, no, you get exactly what you want, just not the way you want it. KO got exactly what he wanted. His family was alive, just not in the way he wanted. They weren't safe. And yeah, I did read the Tumblr post. I'm not gonna talk. It's been a couple days for it, but I do agree with a lot of what it said. It puts a lot of scattered points that we've kind of been making just kind of like one central place. So yeah, it's a good little write up. And finally, from Isconde. You get a burp, sir. Or ma'am. I don't know your preferred pronouns, and I apologize. I only wish we got KOL's wish granted earlier in the season, because the can of worms it opens up has such good story potential. That, and I wish we could have seen other characters revived on screen and how they're taking it, specifically Takahito, Ginpen, and Tohru. The karma he received was swift, and I agree on seeing glimpses of the KOL we know this episode. Him smiling when Sarah called, and I'm glad he's asking if beating Ace will really get his family back. I really hope he manages to learn his lesson before it's too late, considering we're in the final arc. The reveal of Geats' focus on game as a game master is also interesting, contrasting Giro, the first one, who focus on shaping narrative to save the world and reward heroic efforts. Jeet is someone who wants to sculpt the outcome where no one's happy for those audience members who are fans of bad endings. While I'm really glad Michunaga is set on dealing with KOA, I couldn't help myself but wishing they talked strategy, considering him, Ace, and Win were in the lounge to discuss the plan, considering how poorly the previous times they talked to KOA have turned out so far. Ah, well. I love how Kekera had all of that Tycoon merch ready after Keiwa beats Gang Leader, and Kekera changed over the banner. This man has to have this planned in advance. I gotta hand it to him. Gotta hand it to Kekera, Baroba, and Daichi's actors for how well they portray their characters that people are meant to hate. Especially Daichi, you think being in a hospital bed, having his life spared only due to Ace stopping Keiwa would make him cooperative, but no, this man is still choosing to be a petty jerk and refusing to give the information about his precious tree of knowledge. Never expected a parallel between Keiwa and Kyosei. The latter's ascension into Gyauko was fantastic. I love how into it he was with that, and the roar was amazing. The way he extends his arms, I think, is a reference to the pose he regularly does in his Sentai role from Mira Sentai Time Ranger as a Sixth Ranger, Time Fire. I will always say Quantum Ranger is a much better name. Time Fire? Ah, sure. Quantum Ranger? Fuck yeah. I need quantum power now. I'm okay with when the wish is happening, but I totally get wanting to have more time to live in that world. And yeah. With Jori, we got the good guys win idea. I don't know, maybe like very kind of Showa in essence and vibes. Chirami kind of like much more about drama for drama's sake, very kind of like general Heisei. And I'm not saying there's direct subtext for Kamen Rider, but maybe just more of a context, a comment on Japanese entertainment as a general whole, though I'm not Japanese, so I couldn't really comment on that, though. Yeah, Michinaga is just gonna do the whole grit your teeth, and you fucking punch the fuck out of Keiwa. Well, he tried to. Didn't quite work out, but I think his words did just as much to make Keiwa waver and rethink everything he's doing. So, like, yeah, no, succeeded somewhat. And yeah, and it's all for a similar reason why you dislike those three guys. You know, Baroba, Kekera, and Daichi, because they're all blinded by their desires. They will do anything to get what they want, regardless of, like, that's what we're talking about. Is like they don't take ownership for their actions. They just want what they want, right? Anything that gets in the way, they just want to get rid of it. And hey, I was surprised about the parallels between Keiwa and Kyosei as well, but like it makes a lot of sense with how they're framed. The two halves of this episode feels very intentional. That henshin fucking hype, and it is making me kind of want to go back and watch some Time Rangers. So we'll see what happens there. But that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy the next one, and I hope you enjoy the next episode of Kamen Rider Geats. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, do all those kind of things. Really helps me out. And until next time, keep on Geatsing on.